Alright, so I heard you guys wanted to know about my Shaman. This is the class that I played throughout Season 14 and pushed leaderboards really high with. I showed it off in one of my first videos that I posted about the builds, and a lot of you guys have been excited and looking forward to know what build I showed off at the end of the video. Here you go, this is that build. This is my Shaman build, the one that I put together from scratch. And it's a little bit different than what some people tend to run. A lot of people want to run like Boots of the Wild, they want to run Gloves of the Wild, and then they want to run like Spirit Pendant, or they'll instead take like maybe Spirit Pendant off, run Damien set, and put like an Absence of Constraint on, that way they get the bonus, and then every time they fire there's a chance for elemental explosions to go off, and yada yada yada. Not my build. Not my build at all. My build is completely different, and I'll show you what it is. So what I use, and this is a big deal, is Iron Ring of the Prometheus needs to roll Arcanum. Arcanum allows me to shoot 3 projectiles instead of 1, with a 30% chance to cast an Empowered Arcane Fury. So when I fire, you'll see a blue aura go off. That blue aura or explosion is Arcane Fury, an empowered version of that. Some people ask me, is that like what is that? Some people just ask me, what is that? What is that blue aura? How are you shooting like the mana orb from the white mage? And I'm like, no, that's not it. It's just my rings ability. So that's a big part of this build. Arcanum on a Iron Ring of Prometheus. The second part of this build that's very important is these gloves, Spellweavers. Spellweavers give you arcane power, which allows you to have the ability to basically stack your magic damage up to 10 times. So the longer you're casting on a target, the more that magic damage is going to amplify. On top of that, I have a bunch of really high-end gear. As you can see, most of it is chase, but yeah, I use Arcane Robes of Authority. That way I get Rule of Order, which is like the same as the ability you'll find on maybe Sovereignty. Sovereignty also has Rule of Order, which is a rune word, by the way. So Arcane Robes of Authority. The Arcane Robes of Authority, it has a chance for every amount of mana, or every 10 to 15k mana you have, you do a decimal amount more damage based on your mana. So basically, the more mana you have, the more damage you're going to do, and that's why I use this chase item. Why not use Sovereignty, the rune word, instead of using a chase? Then you can wear something else there. I'm glad you asked. A lot of people would do that actually, because it's easier. People would rather use Mage Slayer's Jacket, or use the equivalent, which is a rune word called Mystify. Well, instead I decided I wanted to go stronger than that, so I went ahead and put Mage Slayer's Jacket instead of Mystify, and I put it on my Merc. Why? Because the Merc can apply Spell Break with its own damage, and then I don't have to. So with my Merc wearing it, which on live my Merc uses Mystify, because I wasn't able to find one of these. But yeah, it allows me to use this. And then on top of that, Spell Break also can be applied at the same time as Elemental Break. So I use Beacon of Shadows for the Elemental Break, and the higher the level, the more Elemental Break damage it will have. What does Elemental Break and Spell Break do? Elemental Break basically just means that all elements can bypass armor that is broken. So it'll apply an Elemental Break on the enemy's armor, which will allow you to bypass that armor and deal direct damage. Spell Break is the same thing, but it only works with spells. So technically you can bypass it twice, and it's really nice. On top of that, what I like to do is wear Sheep King's Crown. Why? Because it has a bunch of just energy percent, has a bunch of attack speed. It comes with a ton of all stats, which means more HP, more armor, more energy, lots and lots of energy, and more mana. So all of that is great. The plus all talents you get, I went ahead and rolled mine a little higher than 100 just to get that bonus to the all talents. But yeah, you can get way better versions of this, and I just went with a basic one that happened to roll with block, not really going into a block build. That's just what I got. The Damien set, super huge. Need to use this because if you're doing AoE damage, you're gonna want it. The set bonus gives you a 40% chance to cause a Blood Nova. Blood Nova being the red explosion you see coming off when I hit a target, and that alone does a lot of damage. On top of that, your Merc also somehow gets the bonus. Don't ask me why, but yeah, your Merc also gets the bonus from the Blood Nova, so that's pretty cool. One other item that is very specific to my setup is Spirit Walker's Guides. Why? Why do you have that, Equin? Why do you have that, Mr. E? That is not the item that I see you using right now. Well, good question. What you do with it is use the perk. The perk on it says, gain an empowered Spirit Wolf when casting Spirit Wolves. The actual bonus after that doesn't apply because I don't actually wear this weapon. But what you do is you put the weapon on, it'll take off your shield. Then you go into your skills and you put Spirit Wolves on. Whenever you cast Spirit Wolves after that, you now have 3. So basically with these on, you get 3 wolves instead of 2, but there's a cool bonus to it. Watch what happens when I take it off. Look, I still have 3 wolves. Wow. Why is that so OP? I don't know, but it is. So that's why you use it, to get a bonus wolf. Then put Beacon of Shadows back on, and then put whichever shield on that you want to use. I have both Novice Tower and Authority of the Celestials. Why? Because if I want to go super tanky and still do a bunch of damage and push wormholes, I'm probably going to use Novice Tower. That's just a fact. It's what I use on live. I don't use anything other than this on live because survivability is important to me, especially if you play hardcore, guys. If you want to go highest damage possible, then Authority of Celestials is the shield for you. You want to get Runic Power as high as you can. What does it do? Basically, it increases your magic damage for every 2 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. So it's kind of like the gloves, where it also stacks 10 times. So technically, it's like your magic damage stacking up to 20 times. And the way it works is the higher the runic level, the more times it stacks. So basically, you can roll one with level 1, which means it'll only stack up to once, or you can roll it up to 10, which will stack up to 10 times. So if you want to go for the most damage possible, you want to use the shield. You want to go for a mana shield build so that you have a huge pool of mana and it's really hard for you to get taken down. I recommend Novice Tower. This belt specifically might not be the best choice. It's up to you. I just threw it on for the extra mana and the energy and the all talents and the all stats. This one rolled a bonus to elemental damage, but you know, anything is decent. I just threw this on. It might not be the best choice. There is a couple other options. You could go with crit chance and stack crit chance if you want. You could put this on. You can take off maybe Power of the Void, which is what I'm wearing for the elemental damage and for the bonus damage that drops from the sky every time I proc it. And you could put on like Bottle of Sake and get more crit rate. You could even take off these boots, which I'm wearing, Mana Woven Walkers, mainly for the extra energy and mana once again. And the All Talents is a really nice perk. You could put on like Arena Masters, go with even more All Talents, and go with a high crit. And by doing that, you would stack your crit rate a little bit higher, and maybe you'd kill mobs faster. From what I've tested, it's not as good, but you know, it's up to you on what you're trying to go for. There's always the opportunity to wear something like Pearlescent Dreams. This is something that I wore on live, that way I could get teleport. It helps a lot with trying to get mobs grouped together, so this is a really nice, awesome pair of boots that you can find. They get a whole bunch of elemental damage, and if you're really lucky, you can get the bonus roll on your for your actual class. I did not get magic, so this did not benefit me whatsoever. Also, it can get a bonus roll. Mine just happened to get blocked, so you could have gotten like crit, or you could have gotten another all talent, or you could have gotten some more elemental damage on top of that. You never know. Yeah, this is another good pair of boots. I still just went with the energy and mana, that way I can stack it even higher. Why did I choose these skills? Why did I go with this build? Well, first off, one of the most important skills in this build is wind armor. I only put 1 point into it because that's all you really need. But basically, while this is going off, there's a really high chance that you're going to reflect most projectiles back off of you to the target, and the target is going to take damage off of it. So wind armor is important to at least have one. Spirit wolves, as you can see, with all the stuff I have on, do a crap ton of damage by themselves. And then when you use the scent of the wolf, it just empowers them to be even more amazing. On top of that, over here, you only need 1 point into totems, and then it just helps you get down the tree. I stacked 20 into earth armor. This in itself gives me about 500k damage reduction, just alone. So whenever this procs, I take 500k less damage just from this, and it's just mainly because it's stacked really high. I put 1 into rock fragments just because it says it has a chance to stun and it's a passive, so I put that on. I stacked the remainder of my points into fire totem because out of all the totems, I felt like fire totem actually did the most damage. And then you obviously put 20 into Chieftain's Rage. This is an empowered skill that you'd put at the beginning of your skill bar. That way, after you go empowered, you do even more damage and do more attack speed with all of your skills. This also applies to your totems too, so make sure you put 20 into it so that your totems do even more damage over time. And then some of you might wonder why I didn't put more than 1 into this. The only reason why is it goes on a huge cooldown, and it seems to do good damage, but it's not your main damage. The main damage is actually from you because of the way I built this, but the wolves are probably secondary and the totems come third. So this isn't technically a totem build, this is more of a you build with the help of wolves and totems. I didn't max out my all resists because you don't really need to. They're almost basically perfect the way it is, so I didn't really go higher. Block doesn't really matter, damage reduction doesn't really matter, and the reason why is because you're going to be using a mana shield that's almost 1 mil. You could see up here it's 920k, and or you could see right here, I should say, 920k. And yeah, it's really good. My hero levels, I went ahead and plugged energy, armor, elemental damage, and then I put even more absorption shields. So think about that 500k absorption from having earth armor plus 640k absorption from divine shield when that procs, and that's not including the almost 1 million mana shield. And then you put it into poison. All of them are actually really good in their own right, but I just went ahead and stacked it into poison because it's flat damage per second, so that's a lot of damage. And then you could choose between attack speed and crit depending on if you're going into a more crit based build. I went ahead and went for attack speed because not only am I doing most damage using my staff skill, like just left click, but on top of that, I'm getting a bonus from my Merc, and I'll explain that in a second. All stats just gives you more energy, more mana. You don't even have to put it into mana because this already gives you 10% more. All resist is better than using XP and Magic Find if you're going to be pushing or trying to survive. Oversized times 3, and the reason why I chose this over Burst Shot and Multi-Shot. Most of you are probably wondering why, and I can explain it. Basically, with the ring I have, you're already doing multi-shot. You're throwing out 3 projectiles per shot. But when you add multi-shot to it, guess what happens? Nothing. Nothing changes. You're still throwing 3 per shot because that's the way the ring is. Alright, well, why not burst shot then? Well, that's simple. If you put burst shot on, it will cancel out the 3 projectile and go into a 1 beam instead. You'll shoot 1 per shot, but it'll be faster, but it's just 1 per shot. And the reason I don't choose that is because the damage just goes down significantly. On top of that, there's way less spread, so you're killing enemies a lot slower. And then finally, 10k of energy if you happen to hit 100. On live I didn't, I'm only like 92 or something. But yeah, totally can go into more energy when you get to level 100. Mercenary, depending on what you're doing for damage, I went ahead and threw on the ranged Merc, and then I just threw no points into him. Obviously, I'm bad, so I didn't put points into him at all, and there you go. That's my Merc. I can show you what he's wearing. He's wearing True Aim, which gives you the ability of Mark Target, which is what I also have on my staff, so basically double the chance that something's going to get marked. You don't really need 2 of them, but I went ahead and did it anyway. And then on top of that, True Aim, I went ahead and rolled Flash Fire using Angelic Key, and that just means every time you attack, there's a chance to apply the buff that will give you an even faster attack speed. And the cool thing is that applies with the Merc, and so does Mark Target. So basically your Merc can go all out and apply buffs for you, which is awesome. Obviously he has Spell Break on Mage Slayers, and then I just threw a random Sheep's King on him, just, you know, for attack speed, nothing else. Doesn't really matter though, he's got no skills anyway, so yeah, he could be doing better damage, he doesn't need it. If you're going to be pushing wormholes though, what I recommend is going melee instead and giving your Merc either a Shelter or a King's Tower shield for mending. That way you and your Merc get a bunch of health regen, and if by chance your mana shield breaks and you can't absorb the hits and you start taking HP loss, this will help a lot. I know you only have like 200k HP unless you stack relics with HP or something, but this will help a lot, and it'll keep your minion alive into the really high wormholes. I went ahead and put Perdition on my Merc. I rolled Flash Fire on him like I did my Ranger. The Perdition has Phantasm, so it'll give you an attack speed buff on top of an attack speed buff. Technically though, my Merc on live wears a Judge, that way he gets taunt, and it's really tanky. It has a lot of armor and HP and stuff on it for your Merc, but you can use what you want. I went ahead and put Perdition on this one, and then I went with a tanky Golden Crusader. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. Look at the all resist. Really nice. So that's what I went with my Merc. If you're going to push wormholes, this is what I recommend, something like this. Obviously it's not cheap. None of this is cheap. This is not meant to be a, hey guys, this is easy build for you. No, this is an end game build. This is what I use on live, and this is what I showed off in my first video. So with that being said, and me showing you everything, I can show you some damage and what's possible. I hope that this guide helped you guys. I hope that you guys can achieve something like this for season 15. And if you guys got further questions, feel free to ask. And if you like the video and you want to see more, make sure you slam that subscription button so that you see my next video, which is probably coming soon. See you on the next one, guys.